Zixthera stared at the holographic display floating above her workstation. The blue light from the star chart cast strange shadows across her pale Valonian features. She had been the chief navigator of the Meridian's Eye for 12 years, but she had never seen anything like this before. The galactic map showed thousands of star systems, trade routes, and colonies spread across 3 spiral arms, but there were holes. Large dark spaces where no data existed. The computer called them terminus zones. "Computer, show me the history of Sector 7749X, she said, pointing at one of the empty regions. Records indicate this sector was last surveyed 347 years ago. Survey ship Bright Dawn departed with crew of 200. Ship never returned. No distress signals received." Zixthera frowned. She pulled up another empty zone. "What about Sector 8821Y? Last survey attempt 298 years ago. Deep space vessel Star Chaser, launched with crew of 150. Contact lost after entering sector. Emergency beacon activated once, then went silent." She tried a third zone, same result, a fourth, same story. Every single dark space on the map had the same pattern. Ships went in. Ships never came back. "Dr. Fintas, please report to navigation." She called over the ship's communication system. The ship's xenobiologist arrived 10 minutes later. Finitas was an old hegemony male with 4 arms and skin that changed color based on his mood. Right now it was showing pale green, which meant he was curious. "You look troubled, navigator," Fintas said as he examined the display. "Look at this pattern," Zixthera said, highlighting the empty zones. 17 major sectors, all unmapped, all with the same history of lost survey ships. Finitas studied the data carefully. His skin shifted to yellow, indicating deep thought. "This is most unusual. What connects these regions?" "That's what I want to know." Zixthera pulled up older star charts, ones from before the disappearances began. "Look at this. 400 years ago, these sectors were inhabited. The ancient maps showed colonies and outposts scattered throughout the now empty zones. Most belonged to various alien species, but some had different markers." "What are these blue symbols?" Fintas asked, pointing to several systems. Zixthera zoomed in on the data. "Human colonies. According to these old records, there was a species called humans that lived in many of these systems." "Humans?" Fintas's skin flickered between colors. "I have never heard of this species. Are they extinct?" "I don't know. The records stop about 400 years ago. After that, nothing. It's like they just vanished from all official databases." They worked together for hours, pulling up every piece of historical data they could find. The picture that emerged was troubling. 4 centuries ago, humans had been expanding rapidly across multiple sectors. They had colonies on dozens of worlds, and seemed to be a growing spacefaring civilization. Then came the first contact incidents. "Look at this," Zixthera said, showing Fintas a heavily corrupted file. "This appears to be a military report from the Zephyrian Empire. It mentions a conflict with human colonies in Sector 7749X. The same sector where our survey ships disappeared," Finitas noted. His skin had turned dark purple, a sign of worry. The Zephyrian report was mostly unreadable, but certain phrases stood out. "Unprecedented resistance. Unknown weapons technology. Complete fleet destruction. Recommend immediate quarantine of human space." More files surfaced as they dug deeper into the archives. Reports from the Krathari Republic described human colonies as impossibly fortified. The Malor Federation had issued warnings about adaptive hostile entities in human territory. The Valonian Empire's own ancient records contained a single cryptic entry: "Avoid all contact with human settlements. Declare surrounding sectors forbidden zones." "This makes no sense," Fintas said, his forearms gesturing wildly. "If humans were so dangerous, why isn't there more information about them? Why don't our schools teach about this threat?" "Maybe because everyone who encountered them directly is gone," Zixthera replied quietly. The implications were staggering. An entire species that had become so dangerous that the galactic community had simply pretended they didn't exist. The terminus zones weren't empty space waiting to be explored. They were quarantine zones, boundaries that no one dared to cross. Admiral Kethmore entered the navigation center without warning, as was his habit. The massive Valonian commander filled the doorway with his presence, his ceremonial armor gleaming. Under the work lights, Navigator Dr. Fintus, I trust you have good news about our mapping mission? Zixthara exchanged a glance with Fintus. Admiral, we've discovered some concerning information about the sectors we're supposed to survey. Oh? Kethmore moved closer to the display. What kind of concerns? These regions appear to be inhabited by a hostile species called humans. Every previous survey attempt has resulted in lost ships and crews. Admiral Kethmore studied the data for a moment, then laughed. It was a harsh sound that echoed off the metal walls. Navigator, these records are centuries old. Even if this human species was once dangerous, they're clearly extinct now. Otherwise, we would have heard from them. But Admiral, the pattern of disappearances can be explained by any number of natural phenomena. Space pirates, gravitational anomalies, equipment failures. The galaxy is full of dangers. Finda stepped forward. Sir, with respect, the historical data suggests that our ancestors were cowards who were afraid of shadows, Kethmore interrupted. We are not our ancestors. We have better ships, better weapons, better training. Whatever drove off those ancient survey crews will not stop us. Zixthara felt a chill run down her spine. Admiral, I strongly recommend we conduct additional research before entering these sectors. Recommendation noted and rejected, Kethmore said firmly. We have our orders from the High Command. The galactic maps will be updated. These empty zones will be filled in. We depart for Sector 7749X in 6 hours. The Admiral left as suddenly as he had arrived, leaving Zixthara and Fintas alone with their fears and the glowing display showing those ominous dark spaces on the map. He's making a mistake, Fintas whispered, his skin now a deep red color indicating extreme alarm. Zixthara nodded, staring at the coordinates for Sector 7749X. In 6 hours, they would cross the line into one of the terminus zones, into space, that had swallowed 17 survey missions over the past 4 centuries, into the region where the galactic map ended, and something called humans began. She began preparing emergency protocols, hoping she would never need to use them. But something in the ancient warnings made her think that hope might not be enough. The Meridian's eye dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Sector 7749X with a violent shudder that ran through the entire ship. Zixthara checked her instruments and frowned. The readings made no sense. Admiral, we're detecting massive debris fields throughout this system, she reported to the bridge. On screen, Admiral Kethmore ordered. The main display showed a graveyard of ships stretching across space. Thousands of vessels from dozens of different species floated dead in the void. Some were ancient designs that Zixthara recognized from history books. Others were more recent but still decades old. By the 7 moons, Dr. Fintas breathed, his skin cycling through colors of shock and fear. It's a battlefield. The debris field was enormous, spanning several light minutes. Broken hulls drifted in complex patterns, following orbital mechanics that had been playing out for centuries. But what disturbed Zixthara most was the condition of the wrecks. Every ship had the same type of damage. Perfect circular holes punched through their hulls as if something had simply erased pieces of metal and composite armor. The holes were too clean to be weapon impacts, too precise to be natural phenomena. Take us closer to that large vessel, Admiral Kethmore commanded, pointing to a massive dreadnought that dwarfed their own ship. As they approached, Zixthara could see the ship's markings more clearly. It's Zephyrian Imperial Navy. The hull configuration suggests it's from their Conquest-class line. Those ships were built 200 years ago, Fintas added. This vessel would have carried a crew of over 3,000. The Admiral studied the massive warship. Despite its age and obvious battle damage, much of its structure remained intact. Prepare a boarding party. I want to know what happened here. Sir, that might not be wise, Zixthara said carefully. If something destroyed an entire Zephyrian battle fleet, it might still be dangerous. Navigator. That battle happened too. Centuries ago. Whatever threat existed here is long gone. The Admiral's tone left no room for argument. 3 hours later, the boarding party returned with a data core they had recovered from the Zephyrian command center. Dr. Fintas worked feverishly to decode the ancient Zephyrian military encryption, while Zixithara and Admiral Kethamore waited. "I have it," Fintas announced finally. "The core contains the final battle logs of Admiral Vorthak, commander of the 7th Conquest Fleet. Play them," Kethamore ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the interior of the Zephyrian command bridge. Admiral Vorthak was a typical Zephyrian warrior, tall and scaled, with the ritual scars of his rank carved into his face. "Fleet log, day 127 of the Conquest campaign," Vorthak's recorded voice began. "We have encountered a human colony ship in this system. The vessel identifies itself as the New Horizon, commanded by someone called Captain Jake Morrison." The image shifted to show an external view of a human ship. It was smaller than the Zephyrian vessels, but seemed more advanced in design. Sleek lines and unusual weapon ports marked its hull. "Initial contact protocols have been completed," Vorthak continued. "The humans appear willing to negotiate. They have offered to discuss terms of surrender." Admiral Kethamore leaned forward with interest. So the humans were not immediately hostile. The recording continued. "The human captain has come aboard, my flagship with his senior officers. I am impressed by their calm demeanor despite being vastly outnumbered. The human female, Chief Engineer Lisa Hayes, has shown particular interest in our ship's technical systems." Zixithara felt a chill as she watched the ancient recording. Something about the calm way the Zephyrian admiral spoke suggested he had no idea what was about to happen. "Captain Morrison has made an unusual request," Vorthak's log continued. "He wishes to demonstrate human industrial capabilities by examining one of our weapon systems. I have agreed, seeing this as an opportunity to impress them with Zephyrian military superiority." The scene changed to show 3 humans standing in what appeared to be a Zephyrian weapons bay. Captain Jake Morrison was a tall man with dark hair and steady eyes. Lisa Hayes was smaller, with quick movements and an intense focus as she examined the alien technology. The 3rd human, identified as Security Officer Ryan Clark, stood quietly watching everything with alert eyes. "The demonstration has taken an unexpected turn." Vorthak's voice had changed, showing the first signs of concern. "The humans have somehow disabled our primary weapon array. Chief Engineer Hayes claims it was an accident, but our technicians cannot restore function." Admiral Kethamore straightened in his chair. "They sabotaged the weapons during a peaceful meeting?" The recording jumped forward several hours. Now Vorthak looked angry and suspicious. "The humans continue to cause system failures throughout my ship. Captain Morrison insists these are accidents caused by compatibility issues between human and Zephyrian technology. I have ordered my security teams to escort them back to their vessel." Another time jump. The Zephyrian admiral's face showed fear for the first time. "The humans are no longer on my ship, but our problems are getting worse. Critical systems are failing throughout the fleet. The humans claim they are trying to help fix the issues their presence has caused." Zixithara watched as the recording showed Zephyrian crew members running through corridors, trying to manage cascading system failures. Emergency lights flashed on and off. The ship's gravity seemed to be fluctuating. "I have demanded that the humans explain what is happening," Vorthak continued. Captain Morrison's response was disturbing. He said, and I quote, "Admiral, we come from a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We learned to turn everything into a weapon, including our own curiosity." The final log entry showed Admiral Vorthak alone on his bridge, most of his crew gone. The ship around him was clearly dying, with smoke drifting through the air and warning signals blaring constantly. "The human colony ship has not moved from its original position," he said, his voice now filled with terror. "They have not fired a single weapon, yet my entire fleet is dead or dying." Captain Morrison's final message to me was simple. "We are not conquerors, Admiral, but we are survivors, and survivors do whatever they must to protect their own." The recording ended with Admiral Vorthak slumping over his command console as life support finally failed on his flagship. The bridge of the Meridian's eye fell, silent. Dr. Fintas had turned completely white, a color Zixithera had never seen on a hegemony citizen before. Admiral Kethmore stared at the empty holographic display with an expression of growing understanding and fear. They destroyed an entire conquest fleet without firing a shot. Zixithera said quietly. How is that possible? The humans studied their technology, Fintas replied, his voice shaking. During a peaceful meeting, they learned enough about Zephyrian systems to cause catastrophic failures. They turned the ship's own technology against them. Admiral Kethmore stood up slowly. That was 200 years ago. Even if some humans survived, they would be long dead by now. Would they? Zixithera asked, thinking about the implications. If they could do this to a Zephyrian fleet 2 centuries ago, what might their descendants be capable of now? The Admiral looked around at the massive graveyard of ships surrounding them. Each vessel represented hundreds or thousands of lives lost to an enemy that had never even fired a weapon. An enemy that had learned to kill with curiosity and knowledge. Set course for the edge of the system, he ordered finally. I need to report this to High Command. But Zixithera was already checking her instruments. Admiral, I'm detecting movement in the outer debris field. Something large is approaching our position. On the screen, a sleek ship emerged from behind a destroyed Zephyrian cruiser. It was clearly human in design, similar to the New Horizon, but more advanced, more dangerous, and it was heading straight for them. The approaching human ship stopped just outside weapon range, floating silently in the debris field. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. No communication attempts, no hostile actions, just watchful waiting. They're scanning us, Zixithera reported, nervously. Very thorough scans. They're learning everything about our ship. Should we raise shields? Admiral Kethmore asked. Admiral, based on what we just learned about human capabilities, I don't think our shields would matter, Dr. Fintas replied, his skin still pale with fear. Finally, a communication signal came through. The voice that spoke was calm, almost friendly, but carried an underlying tone that made everyone on the bridge feel uncomfortable. Valonian vessel. This is Captain Amy Foster of the human ship Wanderer. You are in violation of the exclusion zone established by the Galactic Accords of 2387. Please state your intentions. Admiral Kethmore activated the reply channel. This is Admiral Kethmore of the Valonian Empire. We are conducting a routine mapping survey. We have no hostile intentions. Admiral, there are no Galactic Accords from 2387 in any of our databases, Zixithera whispered urgently. And that was over 160 years ago. The human captain's voice returned. Admiral Kethmore, your government signed the exclusion agreement. After the incident with your survey ship Silent Runner in 2391, are you claiming the Valonian Empire is breaking its own treaty? Kethmore looked confused. I have no knowledge of any such treaty. There was a pause before Captain Foster responded. I see. This suggests your government has chosen to forget certain historical events. Perhaps you should speak with someone who remembers. Transmitting coordinates now. Follow them if you wish to understand why these sectors remain unmapped. The coordinates led to a hidden asteroid station deep in the debris field. As the Meridian's eye approached, Zixithera marveled at the construction. The station was built inside a large asteroid, almost invisible from the outside. Only the most advanced sensors could detect the life signs within. How long has this been here? She wondered aloud. According to the power signatures, at least 2 centuries, Fintas replied. A docking bay opened in the asteroid's surface, revealing a structure that looked like it had been carved and built by multiple species working together. As they docked, Zixithera noticed that the station's design incorporated technology from dozens of different civilizations. They were greeted by an elderly alien who introduced himself as Elder Historian Maktar of the Hegemony. His appearance was startling. The normal blue-green skin of his species was marked with scars, and one of his forearms was obviously artificial. Welcome to Haven Station, Maktar said as he led them through corridors lined with historical displays. We are the last survivors of the human contact wars. Wars? Admiral Kethmore questioned. Our records mention no such conflicts. Maktar laughed bitterly. Of course they don't. The galactic governments decided it was easier to pretend humans never existed than to admit what really happened. They entered a large chamber filled with representatives from multiple species, Zephyrians, Krathari, Melor, and others. All bore the same marks of old conflicts, scars, and artificial limbs that spoke of violent encounters. Please sit. Maktar gestured to chairs that had been arranged for them. Let me tell you the truth about humans. The old historian activated a holographic display that showed a blue-green world orbiting a yellow star. This is Earth, the human homeworld. Our xenobiologists classified it as a Class 12 death world, a planet so dangerous that complex life should not be able to survive there, let alone evolve intelligence. The display showed images of Earth's surface, massive storms that could level cities, earthquakes that split continents, volcanic eruptions that darkened skies for years, predators that seemed designed specifically to hunt and kill. Every other intelligent species in the galaxy evolved on Class 6 worlds, or safer, Maktar continued. Worlds where cooperation and peaceful development were necessary for survival. Humans evolved on a world that tried to kill them every single day for millions of years. Dr. Fintas leaned forward, fascinated despite his fear. How did they survive such conditions? They became the apex predators of their world, Maktar replied. But not just physically. Mentally, they developed the ability to see everything as either a resource or a threat, to solve problems by thinking of solutions no other species would consider. The display changed to show human colonies. Unlike other species settlements which were clearly designed for comfort and efficiency, human colonies looked like fortresses. Every building could serve multiple purposes. Every civilian area had defensive positions built in. When we first encountered human colonies, we thought they were military outposts. Maktar explained. We were wrong. These were civilian settlements, but every human civilian was trained from childhood in combat, engineering, and tactical thinking. A new voice interrupted from the back of the room. Tell them about the children. Everyone turned to see a scarred Krathari female approaching. I am Commander Veltar, formerly of the Krathari Republican Navy. I was present at the Battle of New Montana. She activated her own display, showing a human colony under attack by Krathari forces. We thought it would be easy. One human settlement against a full military assault. We had 50,000 troops, air support, orbital bombardment capabilities. The display showed Krathari forces landing on the planet's surface. At first, everything seemed to go according to plan. Then things started going wrong. The human children. Commander Veltar continued, her voice hollow with old trauma. Some of them couldn't have been older than 10 standard years. They were calculating orbital mechanics in their heads, using our own supply drops as weapons, against us. The images showed human children jury-rigging captured Krathari equipment into improvised weapons. A girl who looked no older than 12 had somehow turned a medical scanner into a device that could disrupt Krathari neural implants. Their farmers were worse than our soldiers, Veltar said. An old human male named Ben Wright took agricultural equipment and built antimatter explosives. He destroyed 3 of our dropships using fertilizer and spare parts. Admiral Kethmore was staring at the displays in disbelief. Children? You're saying human children are naturally capable of military tactics? Not just capable, Maktar replied. Superior. Every human thinks like a general and an engineer simultaneously. They see patterns and solutions that escape our finest minds. But that's not the worst part, another survivor spoke up. This was a Melor diplomat with extensive cybernetic replacements. The worst part is that they reproduce fast and they adapt, faster. The holographic display showed human population charts. In the 200 years since the contact wars ended, human colonies have spread throughout the forbidden sectors. Each generation is smarter, more adaptable, more dangerous than the last. They learn from every species that encounters them, Maktar explained. Zephyrian military tactics, Krathari technology, Melor diplomacy, Valonian logistics. They absorb it all and improve on it. Zixothera felt sick. You're saying that in the 2 centuries since first contact, humans have been evolving specifically to counter galactic civilization? Not to counter it, Maktar corrected. To survive it. Every species that discovered humans tried to conquer or eliminate them. So humans prepared for the inevitable return of galactic forces. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The terminus zones weren't empty space. They were human territory, filled with colonies that had spent 200 years preparing for this moment. Why are you telling us this? Admiral Kethmore asked, finally. Because your government is about to make the same mistake ours did, Commander Veltar replied. The Valonian High Command has already dispatched a military fleet to pacify the human sectors. 10,000 ships under Admiral Rothkar are en route to what they believe is empty space. Zixthara's blood turned cold. When? They should arrive. In human space in approximately 6 hours, Maktar said quietly. We have to warn them, Dr. Fintas said urgently. The survivors in the chamber looked at each other with expressions of shared sorrow. Commander, there is no way to warn a fleet that believes it is hunting ghosts, Maktar said. Admiral Rothkar is about to discover that humans are very much alive, and they have had 2 centuries to prepare for his arrival. Admiral Rothkar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Valonian dreadnought Stellar Dominion, watching as 10,000 ships dropped out of hyperspace around him. The largest military fleet in Valonian history had assembled to map and claim the empty sectors that had haunted galactic charts for centuries. All ships report ready, Admiral, his communications officer announced. Fleet formation is optimal for wide-area reconnaissance. Excellent, Rothkar replied, studying the tactical display. Begin systematic sweep of this sector. I want every planet, every asteroid, every speck of dust catalogued and claimed for the Empire. The fleet spread out in perfect formation, thousands of ships moving in coordinated patterns across the star system. For the first hour, everything proceeded according to plan. Sensor readings showed empty space, abandoned worlds, the usual debris of long-dead civilizations. Then the first ship disappeared. Admiral, we've lost contact with the scout vessel Quickstrike, reported the sensor officer. Mechanical failure? Rothkar asked without concern. Unknown, sir. The ship simply vanished from our sensors. No distress signal, no explosion, no trace. Within minutes, 3 more ships had vanished in different parts of the system. Then 7 more. The disappearances were silent, sudden, and completely unexplainable. All ships, halt advance and form defensive positions, Rothkar ordered. Something is out there. As if his words had been a signal, the attacks began. The first indication of trouble was when Commander Yelthanor's destroyer, the Iron Fist, suddenly began firing on its own escort ships. The weapon signatures matched Valonian technology perfectly, but the targeting patterns were wrong, too precise, too efficient. Iron Fist, cease fire immediately, Rothkar commanded. Commander Yelthanor, respond. The voice that answered was not Yelthanor's. It was human, calm, and professional. Admiral Rothkar, this is Fleet Admiral Kate Morgan of the Human Colonial Defense Force. Your ship commanders are unharmed, but their vessels are now under our control. Before Rothkar could respond, more ships throughout his fleet began turning, their weapons on their neighbors. But these weren't random attacks. The humans were using captured Valonian ships to create specific tactical advantages, isolating key vessels and disrupting command structures. How is this possible? Rothkar demanded. Our ships have the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. Admiral, you're thinking like someone from a safe world, Admiral Morgan's voice replied through every communication system in the fleet simultaneously. You design your security to keep out people who follow rules. We learned to survive on a world where there were no rules except staying alive. The tactical display showed a nightmare scenario. Half of Rothkar's fleet was now firing on the other half, but the captured ships weren't trying to destroy their targets. They were systematically disabling engines, weapons, and life support with surgical precision. All remaining ships, jump to hyperspace immediately, Rothkar ordered desperately. Admiral, hyperspace drives are not responding, his engineer reported. Something is interfering with the jump calculations. On the main screen, space around the Valonian fleet began to shimmer. What had appeared to be empty void revealed itself to be a massive construction project. Artificial structures the size of moons uncloaked throughout the system. Space stations that looked like they had been built from the bones of 1,000 different ship types, and they were all armed. Welcome to the Crucible system, Admiral Morgan's voice continued. Every species that has tried to conquer human space in the past 200 years contributed to its construction. Your Valonian technology will make excellent additions to our defenses. General Alex Stone's voice joined the communication. Admiral Rothkar, I want you to understand something. We didn't choose to become monsters. Your people and every other species in the galaxy forced this on us by trying to destroy us first. The human structures began powering up weapons that defied classification. Some appeared to be based on Zephyrian plasma technology, but enhanced, beyond anything the Zephyrians had ever built. Others used Krathari energy manipulation, but with precision that made the originals look primitive. 2 centuries ago, your first survey ships found our colonies, Admiral Morgan explained as her forces systematically captured or disabled Valonian vessels. When we tried to establish peaceful relations, you responded with conquest fleets. When we defended ourselves, you declared us an existential threat. More Valonian ships fell under human control. The crew members weren't being killed. They were being transported off their vessels before the ships were taken over. But that somehow made the situation more terrifying. The humans weren't even angry. They were just efficiently neutralizing a threat. We spent 200 years studying every species in the galaxy, General Stone continued. Every time someone tried to destroy us, we learned from them. Zephyrian tactics, Krathari technology, Melor diplomacy, your own Valonian logistics and engineering. Rothkar watched in horror as his command staff was beamed away from his own bridge, leaving him alone with humans materializing from transport systems that shouldn't have been able to penetrate Valonian shields. The first human to fully materialize was Admiral Kate Morgan. She was tall, with graying hair and eyes that held the weight of centuries of conflict. Behind her came General Alex Stone, a powerfully built man whose presence filled the bridge with quiet authority. Admiral Rothkar, Morgan said politely, you're not in immediate danger, but you need to understand what you've walked into. You've invaded sovereign Valonian space, Rothkar replied, trying to maintain his dignity. Actually, Admiral, you've invaded human space, General Stone corrected. These sectors have been under human jurisdiction for 2 centuries. Your own government signed treaties acknowledging this after the incident with your survey ship Silent. Runner, that's impossible. I would know about any such treaties. Admiral Morgan activated a holographic display that showed official Valonian government documents. Your high command has been deliberately hiding this information from your military commanders. They hoped that if they ignored us long enough, we would simply go away. The documents were genuine. Rothkar could see the official seals, the authentication codes. His own government had been lying to him about the human situation for decades. Why? He asked quietly. Because admitting we exist would mean admitting that the Valonian Empire, and every other galactic power, was defeated by a species you all considered primitive, Admiral Morgan replied. It was easier to pretend the terminus zones were empty than to explain why entire sectors were off limits. General Stone moved to the tactical display, which now showed the true scope of human territory. Admiral, what you're seeing is just one system in our defensive network. We have colonies and installations in every sector that galactic maps show as empty. The display revealed hundreds of star systems, all connected by hidden supply lines and communication networks. The humans had built an entire civilization in the spaces between the known galaxy. But why remain hidden? Rothkar asked. If you have this much power, why not establish open diplomatic relations? Because every time we tried that, the response was the same, Admiral Morgan said sadly. Fear, followed by attempts at conquest or extermination. Your species, all the galactic species, seem incapable of accepting that humans might be superior in some ways. So you're going to destroy my fleet? General Stone shook his head. No, Admiral. We're going to give you a choice. Your crews will be returned to Valonian space with a message for your high command. The message is simple. The quarantine zones exist for a reason. Respect them, and we'll continue to handle the threats you can't see. Threats? Admiral Morgan's expression grew serious. Admiral, why do you think we've been hiding in the dark spaces between civilizations? We're not just defending ourselves from galactic species. We're defending all of you from things that come from beyond the galactic rim. The holographic display changed to show the outer edges of the galaxy, where strange signals and unidentified objects had been detected moving toward civilized space. For 200 years, we've been fighting a secret war against extragalactic entities that would make your worst nightmares seem pleasant, General Stone explained. The reason the galaxy has enjoyed relative peace is because we've been stopping invasions before they reach your borders. Rothkar stared at the display, understanding finally dawning. You've been protecting us. The irony is perfect, isn't it? Admiral Morgan said with a bitter smile. The species you all fear as monsters has been your shield against the real monsters all along. 3 months after Admiral Rothkar's fleet returned to Valonian space with their impossible story, the galactic community was in chaos. Emergency sessions were called. Ancient treaties were reviewed. Governments that had spent centuries pretending humans didn't exist were forced to confront the truth. Zixthera found herself at the center of it all. Her original discovery of the terminus zone patterns had started a chain reaction that was reshaping galactic politics. Now she stood in the Grand Assembly Hall on Valonian Prime, waiting to address representatives from every major spacefaring civilization. Navigator Zixthera, the Assembly President announced, please present your findings to the gathered delegates. She activated the holographic display, showing the galactic map with all the dark zones clearly marked. But now the display included new information, the true extent of human territory revealed by Admiral Morgan's data gifts. Honored delegates, she began. For 400 years, our maps have shown empty sectors totaling approximately 30% of explored galactic space. We now know these regions are home to the largest civilization in the galaxy, one that has been deliberately hidden from our view. Murmurs of disbelief and fear rippled through the assembly. The Krathari delegate stood first. Navigator, you ask us to believe that humans, a species our ancestors barely considered civilized, now control a third of the galaxy? Not just control, Zixthera replied. Protect. Commander Sam Turner of the Human Colonial Authority has provided us with evidence of their activities along the galactic rim. The display changed to show the outer edge of the galaxy. Strange objects were visible in deep space, things that didn't match any known ship design or natural phenomenon. Commander Sam Turner materialized via hologram next to Zixthera. He was a calm, professional-looking human who had volunteered to serve as humanity's first official ambassador to the galactic community in 200 years. Delegates, what you're seeing are the remains of 17 separate invasion attempts over the past 2 centuries, Commander Turner explained. Each wave came from beyond our galaxy, carrying technologies and biological weapons that would have devastated civilized space. Dr. Rachel Kim, the human chief scientist, joined the holographic presentation. She was young for such a senior position, but her credentials were undeniable. These entities showed no interest in communication or diplomacy. Their only goal was the complete elimination of all life in our galaxy. Why should we believe you? The Malor representative demanded. You admit you've been lying to us for centuries. We haven't been lying, Commander Turner replied calmly. We've been omitting. Every government in this assembly signed treaties, acknowledging the exclusion zones. Your own leaders chose to classify that information and pretend we didn't exist. The Zephyrian delegate, Admiral Koltheran, stood with obvious difficulty. His species had lost more ships to humans than any other. Even if we accept your claims about external threats, the fact remains that your people have destroyed thousands of our vessels and killed millions of our citizens. That's true, Commander Turner acknowledged, and we regret every life lost. But in every case, Admiral, your forces attacked our colonies first. We have detailed records of every incident. Dr. Kim activated a new display showing historical battle records. The pattern is consistent across all species. First contact leads to cultural exchange. Exchange leads to fear when you realize humans think differently. Fear leads to attempts at conquest or elimination. We defend ourselves usually more effectively than you expect. The question now, Commander Turner continued, is whether the galactic community can move beyond this pattern. Can you accept that humans are different without trying to destroy us for being different? Elder Maktar, representing the Haven, Station survivors, spoke from the gallery. Honored delegates, I have lived in human space for 200 years. I have seen what they're capable of when threatened, but also what they're like when accepted as equals. The old historian approached the center of the assembly. Human colonies have become home to millions of refugees from every species represented here. Not prisoners, not slaves, but citizens with full rights and protections. The humans have created the most diverse, most successful multicultural civilization in galactic history. This revelation caused another wave of shock through the assembly. The idea that humans had been sheltering refugees was completely contrary to the monster image that had developed over the centuries. Dr. Kim displayed population statistics from human space. Currently, 47% of the residents of human colonies are non-human. We have integrated technologies and cultural practices from 23 different species into our society. You're asking us to believe that the species we've feared as galactic conquerors have actually become galactic protectors? The hegemony representative asked skeptically. We're asking you to look at the evidence, Commander Turner replied. For 200 years you've enjoyed unprecedented peace and prosperity. Piracy is at historic lows. No major wars between species. No external invasions. Did you think that happened by accident? Sixth Era stepped forward again. Delegates, I've spent months reviewing historical data. Every major threat to galactic stability over the past 2 centuries has been quietly resolved before it could spread. Pirates disappearing in the outer systems. Aggressive minor species suddenly becoming peaceful. Unexplained equipment failures on warships preparing for conquest campaigns. Human intervention, Dr. Kim confirmed. We've been managing galactic security from the shadows, preventing conflicts before they could escalate into wars. The Valonian High Command representative, Admiral Tothmar, finally spoke. What do you want from us? Commander Turner's answer was simple. Recognition. The exclusion zones will remain in place, but we want them properly marked on all galactic maps. Humans exist. Human space exists. Our colonies and territory should be acknowledged officially. In exchange for what? The Kratari delegate asked. Continued protection, Dr. Kim replied. The extragalactic threats are increasing in frequency and sophistication. The next wave will be stronger than anything we've faced before. We may need the cooperation of galactic military forces to stop it. The assembly fell silent as delegates considered the implications. The species they had feared and hidden from was offering to continue protecting them from threats they hadn't even known existed. There's something else, Commander Turner added quietly. Some of your species are already evolving to be more like humans. Increased problem-solving capabilities, adaptive thinking, tactical awareness. Contact with human refugees has had unexpected effects on several populations. This caused genuine alarm among several delegates. The idea of their species changing, becoming more like humans, touched on their deepest fears. Is this deliberate? The Melor representative demanded. No, Dr. Kim assured them. It appears to be a natural response to environmental pressures. When populations are exposed to human ways of thinking, some individuals develop similar cognitive patterns. We believe it's an evolutionary adaptation to living in a dangerous universe. Sixth Era looked around the assembly hall at the faces of delegates from across the galaxy. Fear, confusion, hope, and determination were all visible in equal measure. The choice is yours, she said finally. You can continue to pretend humans don't exist, in which case they'll continue protecting you from the shadows while you live, in ignorance. Or you can accept reality and work together to face whatever comes next. The vote, when it finally came, was closer than anyone expected. But in the end, the galactic community chose truth over comfortable lies. 6 months later, new star charts were distributed throughout civilized space. For the first time in 400 years, human colonies were clearly marked. The terminus zones were gone, replaced by the proper names of human systems and sectors. At the bottom of each map, a new legend appeared. Here be humans, here be hope. The galaxy was no longer the same. The monsters in the dark spaces between stars had revealed themselves to be guardians. The species everyone feared had been protecting them all along. And in the deep darkness beyond the galactic rim, ancient sensors detected new movement. The next wave was coming, and this time the humans would not face it alone. Zixathera stood in her new office aboard Haven Station, now serving as the first Valonian liaison to the Human Colonial Authority. Through the viewport, she could see ships from dozens of species working together to build new defenses along the galactic rim. The map had changed, but more importantly, so had the galaxy itself.